right, what's up, everybody? This is the Spread Zone. Of course, we're sponsored by FanDuel. We are recording this Wednesday, noon Central. My name is Riz. Of course, with me is Anthony Stalter and Tim McKernan. Our goal, as always, is simple: make you money.
Yep.
Not win an argument, not win a group chat.
Nope.
Win money. That's why we're here. And I was not here last week, but Tim, I'm hearing there was some success with the Spread Zone last week.
I would imagine there was a buzz where you were vacationing about the success
of the resort.
of the Spread Zone. Sure, it was the talk of the resort.
Have you heard
get
about
me another boat drink and get me a bet on the Fitzpatrick brothers. That's what they were saying. Anthony shipped it, Riz, with his draft plays. Went 3-1 on the draft plays here, Anthony.
You said Mendoza was going to go one?
Yeah, I said Mendoza, pick number one.
He went over on the 1.5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, sweat-free, because Simpson came in at number 13.
Yeah,
sweat-free.
I didn't see it going to 13. I didn't see him going to 13. I knew it was a possibility, Tim, but we had talked about a little
live.
He
live
falls to the bottom. Maybe Arizona trades back in and said the Rams go, you know what? Enjoy the back half of this draft.
Yeah.
We got you covered.
We got Simpson, and we'll get him in there at 13. Over 8.5 SEC players drafted in the first round. That also covered. A yes for the trade in the top 10 picks. And then the Lakers plus 9.5 game 3. And the Lakers don't need the 9.5 points. They won straight up to go 3-0 in the series.
By the way, what a fun way to make some money on what is normally a boring draft.
And he was all over it. And on top of it, correct. And then the theory as to why there would be more than one quarterback, I liked the reasoning behind it. So the process was there and the result was there. So a big weekend for Anthony there. Golf is about the only thing I got going. And I said, hey, listen, nobody's going to be watching the Zurich Classic. I know this. It's team golf. But I gave my reasoning for my plays. The one I was off on was Brooks Koepka and Shane Lowry. The reasoning was Brooks Koepka is not guaranteed to get into some of these signature events, even though he's a 5-time major winner. They played really well, but they missed the cut by 1, which sounds weird because rarely do you play well and miss the cut, but only 36 teams get through. Usually it's 60 to 65, somewhere in there that get through. But for the team event, it's only 36. They missed it by 1 stroke. And then the 2 plays that did hit, well, it was 4 plays, 2 teams. Hayden Springer and Alex Smalley were plus 3,000 to win. That didn't hit. They didn't win by 1 stroke, but we did give you the top 10 play, and that was plus 250. So that hit. And then the Fitzpatrick brothers. Matthew Fitzpatrick has been playing the best golf, I think, of anybody. He's got 3 wins this year. And if it weren't for Cam Young at the Players, he would have 4. And all of that has been since like March 10th. He has just picked up some distance, which has then impacted the efficiency of his approach shots. And he has been one of the best on tour. He and his brother win at the Zurich. That paid plus 1,000. And then we also got even money for the top 10. So 3 of the 4 bets hit there. And then we gave I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on. And then we gave, if there was a long shot to win a series at the time, Riz, the Penguins were down 2-0 to the Flyers. Mm-hmm. Then they fell down 3-0, but they've won 2 straight. And at the time of this recording, they are still alive. That was plus 350, of course, coming back from a 3-0 series deficit. Highly unlikely. But they are plus 350 to win the series, or they were when we recorded it, and they are still alive. So there is the update. A profitable podcast.
Well done, fellas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done. Again, talk of the resort at Mexico.
Good. Yeah, I figured that. Yeah. Tim and I actually chatted about that over the weekend. We thought, if Riz is down there, he's having some Mai Tais and likely talking about the Spread Zone.
Yeah. Rewatching it.
My wife's going to shut up about it.
I believe that.
Like, this is our 20th anniversary trip. You got to stop talking
about the Spread Zone. Yeah.
Did you tell her, look, this Tim McKernan is absolutely red hot?
Yeah. When it comes to the Zurich Classic, I know it's our 20th anniversary. Let's watch the Fitzpatrick brothers play.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question, guys. Are you ready, both of you, to become horse racing experts?
You better believe it.
Between 12 and 15 minutes today.
You better believe it, brother.
Just like the rest of America, we're all going to be horse racing experts for at least 15 minutes.
That's right.
Here's what's on deck for today. We're going to talk Kentucky Derby, how we're betting it, how to structure a ticket maybe, and what we're avoiding. Then the second segment, PGA Tour, the Cadillac Championship. They call it the Blue Monster.
Yeah, Blue Monster down there in Doral.
And then some serious thoughts, maybe some short slate plays, MVP talk for the NHL and the NBA.
Beautiful.
Plays have been in.
So we got a packed spread zone today for you. And listen, let's start with the Kentucky Derby, the 152nd Kentucky Derby. It is this Saturday. It is Churchill Downs. Post time, 6:57 p.m. Eastern, 5:57 Central. It's the classic Derby setup. It's a big field. It's traffic. It's what they call trip luck. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of trip luck before?
I have.
I had to look that up. And that's basically how lucky is a horse running through the field.
Oh, is that right? So this is actually a data point. Color me intrigued.
It's called trip luck. It's an intangible. It's one of those things you're hoping for trip luck with the horse that you pick. And the betting menu is basically endless. Your win, your plays, your show, your exotics like your exactas and your trifectas and your superfectas. Also, just of note, Silent Tactic has been scratched from the field.
Yeah, I saw that. And replaced by Great White. 50-1 play. So from going from a favorite to a 50-1 play.
And because we're sponsored by FanDuel, if you are betting the ponies, we're talking FanDuel Racing. FanDuel Racing numbers. And FanDuel Racing posts and updates Derby odds and pools frequently change leading into Saturday. So here's a snapshot of the board we're looking at from FanDuel Racing. So your favorite around 5-1 is Renegade. Followed by Further Ado, also 5-1. The Puma, 6-1. So Happy, 7-1. Commandment, around 8-1. Emerging Market, around 14-1. And Chief Wallaby, around 15-1. And a deep number like Golden Tempo, around 52-1. So how are you approaching this, Anthony? How are we going to make some money off this?
Well, I think number one, you got to think about what the weather is going to be like. If it's going to be muddy, and we're recording this on a Wednesday, so you want to make sure that you get the most updated information. But if it's going to be a muddy track, you want a horse that's used to
the slop,
closing,
man.
exactly.
He loves the slop.
That's used to the dirt. A lot of these horses won't run on dirt until the Kentucky Derby. They're used to synthetic tracks. Yeah. So I think you want to make sure that whatever the prep is leading up to it, that's important. You also got to consider the jockeys and you got to consider the trainers. I mean, there's a reason why certain trainers continue to win hand over fist and why certain jockeys tend to one those trainers choose those jockeys, and two, why those jockeys continue to race well in the big time spots. So those are just kind of just generic things before you get into the actual horses. But I typically like closers. I'll let the pace setters kind of come out first. But the closers, you'll often see if they as long as they don't get like you said early, bad trip luck early on when they're banging each other coming out of the gates. I tend to choose closers because you'll see them come around the outside, finish strong, and then finish in the money.
Now here, and Tim, stop me if I'm wrong here. So, and this is what I've seen in the past. A big mistake people make is like they bet one win ticket. And then they get cute with like a $2,000 trifecta box that's basically a donation.
That's right.
So how do you bet the Derby?
Well, I will absolutely bet it, and I tend to throw a dart, kind of like the golf picks, and then try to find myself where I'm going to get my return on investment. So one play that I guess one consider chalky, and then one dart, the dart, of course, being at a smaller unit size than the play that I feel best about.
So let's get to it. So who are you betting to win? Kentucky Derby.
I'm going with the Puma, and I'm going to give you my reasoning here. All right, the Puma, as you mentioned, Riz, 6-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook for the FanDuel Racing, and I like comps. I utilize this for other sports. Sometimes you try to apply the transient property to college football. I think that can be a flaw. In golf, where we're having some success, you say, okay, this guy plays well in this course, therefore he is going to play well in this style of course. And with the Puma, his best races put him right in the mix, and these connections have won a Derby before. And I am reading that from Michelle Yu, who is the CBS Sports Line Kentucky Derby race expert. In other words, the comps to the races that the Puma has won have been indicative of Derby winners from the past. So therefore, even though 6-1 isn't going to give you a whole big payoff like some kind of long shot, that is the play I'm going to make. Anthony brought up the weather. If the weather is something to consider, then you got to start to factor that in.
What are they calling for?
And so the weather looks very favorable. It's going to rain today in Louisville, but after that, it's expected to be dry. Mix of sun and clouds, high temperatures in the 60s, and they are not expecting there to be any rain after today as we record this on Wednesday, April 29th. They expect it to be a dry track for the
big
Derby.
hats will be dry.
Yeah, big hats will be dry.
Anthony, who are you looking at to win?
I absolutely love Commandment. Love Commandment.
Me and you, buddy. We're sitting together.
Yeah, okay. 6-1 on Commandment. Don't love the odds. Wish we get double digits on that.
I got it 8. So it's
you got 8-1.
I got 8-1.
Oh, there you go.
Marcus down. Tim.
Are you
Marcus down for 8-1.
6-1.
I saw 6-1 yesterday. If you saw
8-1 today.
Beautiful. All right, excellent. So here's the outlook here on Commandment. Here are a couple of things that I noted here. One, he's raced at Churchill Downs. He's raced at Gulfstream Park. He's raced at Keeneland with wins at Churchill Downs, with wins at Gulfstream Park. Stakes wins included the 2026 Florida Derby, as well as the 2026 Fountain of Youth and the 2026 Mucho Macho Man. I mean, this horse has been running red hot. I talked about the style as well. I avoid pace setters, and I go with either stalkers or closers. Commandment would fall into kind of the stalking category. Ideal stalking trip. Doesn't need to lead, won't get caught in traffic, can sit mid-pack pounce, big closing kick if positioned well. Grinder type. I absolutely love Commandment to win.
All right, so I'm going to put money on Commandment as well, but I'm also going to sprinkle in a Chief Wallaby to win because this is the Derby, and if I like a horse's upside, I want to get paid for being right. So not just close. So give me a Commandment to win. I'm also going to sprinkle in a Chief Wallaby at 15-1 to win. Any other bets you throwing down, Tim?
Oh, that's where I am on it. I'll fire. I might go with a one long shot just for my entertainment, but I'm going with the Puma at that 6-1 play, Riz.
I think I'm going to throw down an exacta too, and I think I'm going to put, and it's going to basically like 2 anchor horses over Chaos. So I'll take Commandment. So it's for the exacta, Commandment, and I'll throw a bunch of bets down here. Commandment and Renegade, 1 and 2. Right. Commandment and the Puma, 1 and 2. Commandment and Further Ado, 1 and 2. Commandment and Emerging Market, 1 and 2. Commandment and Golden Tempo, 1 and 2 as exactas.
I like
sprinkle it. Hey, so I'll have like 3, I'll have 2 win bets and then a couple exacta bets.
Perfect.
And I'll make Saturday interesting. Anything else you're throwing down?
I also like the Puma. I like the Puma. Yeah, the Puma finished second to Commandment at that 2026 Florida Derby that I was mentioning. So we know he can run. The only thing that I am hesitant on with the Puma is that he's typically a pace setter. So I could see him setting the pace early and then fading. So I would actually do Further Ado second to Commandment and then the Puma with a show. That's how I would set up my exacta. I would go Commandment, Further Ado, the Puma.
Just on a side note here, so the race starts in St. Louis. We're recording in St. Louis at 5:57 Central Time.
Yeah.
Son's prom is Saturday.
So what are you gonna? How are you gonna handle this? Oh wow!
So
you have to take the pictures.
I'm in charge of pictures.
And
I'm gonna be the guy that's going, let's move this along.
Yeah, yeah. We got the most exciting. What is it? 2 minutes.
That's right.
The most exciting 2 minutes in sports right now. Come on, boys.
Which I'm like, let's. And my wife's like, you got to take pictures.
So she got frustrated that all you were doing was talking about the spread zone on the vacation, and so
she's going back at it now. She's taking another vacation from our vacation. She's actually, and you can't throw bets then on this. She's going to Orlando, Florida for the Summit cheer competition.
Oh, wow.
It's the big one. It's the final.
You cannot wager on that.
Cannot wager on that. I tried. FanDuel does not have odds on what team is going to win this year, but that's where she will be, and I'll be trying to move the pictures along for prom for Lafayette High School.
Boy, that's
in Wildwood, Missouri.
that's a task, brother.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
a task
"All right,
there.
guys, it's almost post time.
Hey, you've got two kids. Maybe can you have the daughter take the photos?
She's gonna be in Florida.
She's cheering.
That's right. She's cheering. You just mentioned that son of a gun.
Yeah, I thought everything.
Yeah.
Because you could pay the little one, take good photos. Maybe hire a photographer.
Yeah,
Maybe I should do that.
What's this charge here?
That's a photographer.
B&B photography.
Or I'll be just on my phone the entire time instead of taking pictures.
Yeah. You just take screenshots of the Kentucky Derby.
Listen, that's our Kentucky Derby thing. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk PGA Tour, Cadillac Championship. Of course, it's the FanDuel, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook and FanDuel Racing. We'll be back. All right, welcome back to the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All right, golf. Tim, this is your time to shine. This week, it's the Cadillac Championship, a PGA Tour signature event. It is tomorrow through Sunday at Trump National Doral, the Blue Monster in Miami. This is a no-cut event.
Yep, signature event, no cut.
So the betting angle on no cut, your guys get 4 full rounds. 4 full rounds to climb the board. So it changes how maybe you think about placement bets. But today are we talking mostly outrights? What are we talking about?
I got both of them for you. Last week we were able to deliver, and I want to try to deliver again for our viewers and listeners here on the Spread Zone, presented to you by FanDuel. So the Blue Monster is the name of the course. That's the nickname for Trump National Doral. It plays 7,590 yards.
Have you played this?
I have not played this course. I have played Harbortown, where they were 2 weeks ago, and that is a short golf course for PGA players. It only goes up to, I think, about 7,100 yards if you tip it out. So this is a big ballpark. It's wide open, whereas Harbortown is certainly a tight golf course where you can't necessarily just bomb drivers. So therefore, if you are wagering on this tournament, number one, if you're looking at it through the lens of a daily fantasy lineup and you wanted to put that together on FanDuel, you know that everybody is going to play all 4 rounds. So from that standpoint, if you want to diversify and differentiate your 6-player roster, you can take some long shots because you know they're going to get to play all 4 rounds. So that frees you up in that capacity. If you're wagering it from the top 10, top 5, or the winner perspective, it sounds chalky, but there's something to be said for it. It is the proverbial big ballpark, and so distance is of value. I think some might look at Cam Young's performance at Hilton Head and go, okay, maybe he fell off after he's been playing so well, won the Players. He was leading at one point in the final round at the Masters, didn't have a great week at Hilton Head, but it's 2 totally different types of golf courses. Cam Young's success as of late is tied to his caddy, and this is so golf nerdy, but his caddy was his teammate at Wake Forest. I believe it was his roommate, actually, at Wake Forest. Guy can read greens like an absolute wizard. Cam Young's weakness, historically, has been putting. He's become a champion because of he has shored up his putting, and that's why he was in the mix to win the Masters. That's why he did chase down Matthew Fitzpatrick at the Players, and he is a bomber. This suits his game more than Hilton Head.
Well, he's sitting at number 2 on the board.
He is, but it's worth it. I realized you can never go wrong picking Scotty Scheffler, but Scheffler is paying plus 310. Young's paying plus 1,300.
It changed. So he was at plus 310 earlier this week. I think it's down to plus 290.
Is that right? People are, and you can't go wrong betting Scotty Scheffler. I realize he hasn't won, but he's been there in every single event, and the way he has played on the weekends, and to sit there and go, he hasn't won, well, that's because he comes out with these slow starts. He's had slow starts on either Thursday or Friday, and then he plays lights out on the weekend. It was nearly good enough for him to win at Hilton Head. It was nearly good enough for him to win at the Masters. He wound up missing it by 1 stroke against Rory McIlroy.
Would you say this is a weaker signature field?
Yes, it is a brand new event. They returned to Doral. They hadn't been there for a number of years. Now they go back. Rory is not playing yet again. And so it's a brand new event. They're playing a signature event this week. They're playing a signature event the following week at Truist. And then they will play their second major at the PGA Championship. So this is a busy time of year.
It's a good strategy for this to not try to outsmart the course and just You go and chalk, Scheffler plus 290. In this weaker field, would you rather pay for the guy most likely to be there on Sunday than pretend you're above playing a chalk?
I am taking guys who can bomb it. I think a guy who's going to be chalk, who isn't a household name, is Jake Knapp. He is a bomber. You would
Plus
never
3,000.
Yeah, you would never pick Knapp, or you would never expect him to be a bomber if you watched the tempo of his swing, but he just gets everything out of it, and he is a bomber. I'll be curious. He's been playing well, too, so I'll be curious to see how he performs and what level of investment there is on Jake Knapp, both in daily fantasy and from the wagering standpoint. Like you mentioned, Riz, he's plus 3,000. It's a bomber's course, so therefore I wouldn't expect some of the shorter hitters to be in the mix for this thing. I'll be really intrigued to see what the leaderboard looks like and to see if you get some of the big boys up there with regard to distance. But my play, if I had to pick somebody, is Cam Young. I realize it's chalky, but that is my reasoning. He's dialed in the putting in addition to this course frees him up. Now, if you wanted to look at a play for a top 10 or a long shot to win, I'm going to give you a name that I would imagine many who are not golf fans have never heard of, even though he has won on the tour, and that name is Aldrich Potgieter. He is a South African, and he played really well at Hilton Head, even though that course and his style of game did not match up, but it shows that he is trending. This is a course that matches his style of game. This guy is an absolute bomber. He's plus 10,000 to win, and you can also get him for some plus money on some favorable plays for this event. That would be a guy that I would take a look at this weekend.
Maybe
as
call
well.
that an optional sprinkle.
Yeah, I like the optional sprinkle. It will be a sprinkle that I will be making.
The three names I'm seeing for this weekend are, number one is Scheffler.
Of course.
Jake Knapp was a name I saw.
So, yeah, I figured that'd be out there.
And then Russell Henley was the third name I was seeing at plus 2,700. Your thoughts on Russell?
Russell Henley, at one point on Sunday afternoon, was in the mix to win the Masters. He has won. He's won at Bay Hill. He is a guy who has incredible talent. The thing that stands out to me as far as Russell Henley, when it comes to big-time tournaments, the Masters being in that category, I know this is a signature event. I don't view it as such, even though it's got a huge prize pool. I feel like he gets a little tight, and then the sign of tightness when you're playing golf or watching it are guys who leave putts short. They're not confident to go after it and then have the confidence to make the comebacker. And that's what he started to do in Augusta. It's also what he did at the Ryder Cup.
But is this I don't need him to be the best golfer alive. I just need him to be alive, alive on Sunday with a chance.
Well, here is why I wouldn't take Russell Henley. Like I said, this is a bomber's paradise, and while for any mere mortal hitting the ball 293 yards would be wonderful, I would love to have that in the bag. On the PGA Tour, 293.1 yard, his driving distance average ranks him outside of the top 140. So even though that is a wonderful driving distance for damn near anybody, it's not great on the PGA Tour where guys can hit it way past him. So therefore, that is why I would be off of Russell Henley on this one.
All right. Well, that is the Cadillac Championship PGA signature event.
Cam Young and Aldrich Potgieter. There you go.
Those are the names.
There you go.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back, and Anthony's going to lead us with some NHL and NBA playoff picks. It is the Spread Zone, brought to you by FanDuel. It is the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel. All lines discussed are FanDuel lines and, of course, subject to change. All right, Tony, are we dealing with Tony or Anthony today?
Coming off the 3-1, Tim, what do you think?
Tony all day. You were Tony last week.
All right, playoffs, and this is where sportsbooks print money off people who refuse to adapt to the playoff, to the playoffs. So, all right, we're talking NBA, we're talking NHL. What are some great bets to put down this week?
You know, Riz, I don't think that what you just said can be understated. I think a lot of bettors tend to remember what they saw in the regular season.
And it's a different ballgame.
And not adjust to what they're actually seeing in the series. You know, I think if people were admitting, if they're being honest, I think a lot of people are getting killed by the Rockets right now, thinking that the Lakers without Luka, they're primed for a letdown. Lakers win the first game. Maybe you follow that up with the Rockets in the second. You lose again. You keep falling behind further and further. You have to adjust. I actually want to start off with. Actually, I'll give you the pick that I really like in the NBA, and it's on Thursday night. So we're recording this on Wednesday. I'll give you one. We got a little 24-hour lead up here. I think the Hawks even the series with the Knicks.
Oh, how about that?
So the Hawks make the big trade earlier this season. And what they have done is given a Knicks team that was, again, better in the regular season, all they can handle. New York's up 3-2, but now they got to go back to Atlanta for Game 6. And the Hawks, I'm getting plus 110 on the money line. I'll punt the 1.5 with the point spread, and I'll take the Hawks plus 110 because I do think they'll even up the series. I want competitive underdogs. That's going to be kind of the theme here for this last segment. I'll keep it brief, but that is one pick that I like in the NBA, so give me the Hawks. I did check out the series prices for some of these. Like Toronto's a pretty big underdog to win the series against Cleveland. That one is tied up 2-2. Otherwise, what we're sitting with right now is a bunch of 3-2 series, so I'll avoid that. But the Hawks plus 110 in Game 6, give me that. Going over to the NHL, a couple of plays I really like. Like I said, there's a bit of a theme here. Which underdogs are playing well?
Yeah.
The Canadiens have been real tough against Tampa, and the Mammoth have been
I like that Mammoth.
Very tough against Vegas coming into the postseason. I can't remember if we did a podcast and handed out some NHL picks, but I did like Utah to pull off the first round upset against Vegas. Right now, as we sit, both series are tied 2-2. But Riz, I can get the Canadiens plus 155 to win the series. Mm-hmm. I can get Utah plus 135 to win the series.
Oh, wow.
If I take both of those, Tim,
yeah.
Let's say you're $100 better.
Yeah.
All I need is one of those series, and I profit.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Canadiens, I'd cash $55 on those two plays, or the Mammoth, I'd cash $35. Now, if both of them win, I'm sitting pretty for a first round. So I do like the Canadiens to win that series at plus 155, and the Mammoth plus 135 to win the series. As Riz often tells you on these podcasts, you got to make sure the number is right.
Yeah.
Bet the number. Obviously, the team has to factor in a little bit, and I think the Canadiens and the Mammoth have been really good. The other play I like, just a single game, tomorrow night, Thursday night. I know they lost 4-1 last night.
Oh, here we go.
The Ducks plus 110 at home against the Oilers. The game 4 was the only game that game 5, excuse me, is the only game that they stopped the puck. And one thing Anaheim can do, they can score. And one thing Edmonton doesn't do frequently is stop the puck. So give me the Ducks plus 110 in that game tomorrow night at home against the Oilers. So a couple of series picks for you, a couple of individual games.
A point of reference on the Oil and the inability to stop the puck and where the numbers are on that. Every playoff game, both tonight and tomorrow's line is over under 5.5, with the exception of the Ducks and the Oilers, which is 6.5 on.
That's right. Every game.
That's what tends to happen. I'm going to give a dart here. Now I got to acknowledge that part of this is with my heart. I am pulling for the Buffalo Sabres. I feel sympathy for the Buffalo market, the heartbreak they've been through with both the Sabres in '99
and the Bills,
and of course 4 straight Super Bowls,
being the city where they actually are geographically.
All of that factoring in, but they were a great team in the regular season. Now, I recognize, as we were just saying, it's a totally different style of play in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm sure they thought they were going to close it out last night, and they lost, so now you go back to Boston. But they still are huge favorites to advance in the Eastern Conference. If they are to advance and continue this run, I can get Tage Thompson at plus 4,000 to be the Conn Smythe winner. Tage Thompson plus 4,000, Conn Smythe. I want to see the Sabres run it, and therefore Tage Thompson would be my play to be the Conn Smythe winner.
Throw $10 down
and just give myself a little sweat for the next couple of months, Riz. That's what I'm thinking.
There you go. There you go. See what happens.
I like it.
All right, fellas. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, that's the spread zone for this week. For Tim McKernan, Anthony Stalter, my name is Riz. Remember, lines move. Don't chase, don't tilt. And we will be back next week on the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.